My husband looked me in the eye and said, "Without my family's money, you'd be nothing. Even your wedding was funded by us." He thought demanding dowry made him powerful. What he didn't know was that I'd been recording every word, building a case that would destroy not just him, but his entire family's reputation and livelihood. By the time I was done, the man who called me worthless was begging on the streets, and his family's name became a cautionary tale whispered throughout our entire community. If you've ever been underestimated by people who thought they owned you, hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video if you believe in serving justice to those who abuse their power, because this dowry revenge story will show you exactly what happens when greed meets a woman who refuses to be broken. Trust me, the ending will leave you speechless. My name is Priya Mehta, and I grew up in a middle-class family in Mumbai where education was considered a woman's greatest asset. My father worked double shifts at a textile factory to pay for my engineering degree, and my mother always told me, "Your knowledge is your strength, beta. No one can take that away from you." I believed her completely, until I got married and learned that some people will try to take everything from you, including your dignity. When I was 26, my parents arranged for me to meet Arjun Gupta, a software engineer from what everyone called a good family. He was well educated, had a stable job at a tech company, and seemed respectful during our initial meetings. His parents appeared warm and progressive, praising my computer science degree and my job at a financial services firm. "We're so happy Arjun is marrying an educated, independent woman," his mother Sunita told my parents during our engagement ceremony. "These days, a woman's career is just as important as her husband's." I thought I'd won the lottery, a husband who respected my ambitions, in-laws who valued my education, and a future where I could be both a wife and a professional. But 3 months before our wedding, the mask began to slip. It started with small comments during wedding planning meetings. "Of course, Priya will contribute to the household expenses once she moves in," Arjun's father Mohan mentioned casually. "After all, she has such a good salary." Then came the requests. Sunita pulled my mother aside one afternoon and mentioned, almost offhandedly, that a wedding gift of 50,000 rupees in cash and a new Maruti Suzuki would ensure a smooth start to the marriage. When my parents hesitated, 50,000 rupees was nearly 2 years' salary for my father. Arjun pulled me aside at a family dinner. "It's tradition, Priya," he said, his voice cold in a way I'd never heard before. "Don't embarrass me in front of my family. Your parents can afford it if they really want this marriage to work." I felt my stomach drop. Tradition? This wasn't tradition. It was extortion wrapped in cultural guilt. But my parents, though heartbroken at the financial burden, began discussing selling a small piece of land my grandfather had left us in our village. That night, lying in my bed, I realized something that chilled me to the bone. If I married into this family, my life would become an endless series of demands, each one justified by tradition and backed by emotional manipulation. So I made a decision that would change everything. I would play along, but I would also prepare for war. The wedding went ahead as planned. My parents sold the land, handed over the cash, and bought the car. I smiled, touched my new in-laws' feet for blessings, and let everyone think they had won. But I had already started documenting everything. Every conversation, every demand, every subtle threat was being recorded on the small device I kept hidden in my dupatta. I opened a separate bank account that only I knew about and began transferring small amounts from my salary each month. Most importantly, I started building relationships with people in Arjun's professional network, not as his wife, but as Priya Mehta, the computer engineer who could solve complex problems and had her own career credentials. 2 months into our marriage, the real exploitation began. "Priya," Mohan announced one evening after dinner, "we've decided that your salary should go into our family account. I'll manage all the household finances from now on. It's more efficient this way." When I hesitated, Sunita jumped in with practiced efficiency. "Beta, you're part of our family now. We all contribute to the common good. Besides, you don't have experience managing money like Papaji does." Arjun, my supposed partner and protector, nodded approvingly. "It makes sense, Priya. This way we can save more for our future." Future. As if I had any say in what that future would look like. But I agreed, opening a joint account that Mohan controlled completely. What they didn't know was that I'd already been diverting 30% of my salary to my secret account for months. The psychological warfare escalated quickly after that. At family dinners, Arjun would make cutting remarks about my contributions. Priya's family barely managed to scrape together her dowry, Good thing we're generous enough to take care of her now. His cousins would laugh, and I would smile politely while my recording device captured every word.
Sunita developed a talent for backhanded compliments. Priya cooks well enough, but of course she's still learning our family recipes. Her mother didn't teach her properly. When relatives visited, Mohan would introduce me as Arjun's wife, the one whose family gave us such a beautiful car. Never by my name, never by my achievements, always as an object whose family had paid the proper price. But the breaking point came 6 months after our wedding, during a family meeting that I wasn't invited to attend, but could hear perfectly from the kitchen, where I was expected to prepare tea. We need another 20,000 for Arjun's promotion expenses, Mohan was saying. Some gifts for his manager, a celebration dinner for the team. Priya's parents should provide it. After all, they're lucky we married her. She's not exactly a catch without her job. Arjun's laughter cut through me like a knife. You're right, Papa, she should be grateful. Without our family status, she'd be nothing. That night, as I lay next to my husband, listening to him snore contentedly, I felt something crystallize inside me. Not anger. Anger was too hot, too unfocused. This was something colder, more precise. They wanted to treat me like a commodity they'd purchased. Fine. It was time to show them exactly what this commodity was capable of. My revenge wasn't impulsive, it was surgical. First, I reached out to Arjun's biggest client at his software company. I'd met him at a company function where he'd been impressed by my technical knowledge. As a fellow engineer, I asked him for coffee to discuss some concerns about project management practices I'd observed. Over coffee, I casually mentioned how Arjun had been bragging about diverting project funds to a family investment account using the exact quotes I'd recorded of him discussing how he skimmed money from his expense reports to contribute to his father's dowry collection fund. I thought you should know, I told the client, since integrity is so important in our field. The client's face went pale. Within a week, they'd launched an internal audit. Within 2 weeks, Arjun was fired for financial irregularities. But I was just getting started. Phase 2 involved their social reputation, the thing they valued more than money. I carefully compiled the most damning audio recordings. Sunita laughing about how they'd trained me to hand over my salary. Mohan bragging about the dowry they'd extracted. Arjun mocking my family's financial struggles. I created anonymous packages and sent them to everyone in their social circle. The local temple committee where Mohan was treasurer, the ladies' club where Sunita held a leadership position, Arjun's college alumni group, extended family members, neighbors who'd attended our wedding and seen the expensive gifts my parents had given. The recordings spread like wildfire through WhatsApp groups and community networks. Suddenly, the family that had built their reputation on being progressive and respectable became the subject of whispered conversations and pointed stares. Phase 3 was legal warfare, using all the evidence I'd gathered, recordings, bank statements showing the dowry payments, documented proof of financial abuse. I filed charges under the Dowry Prohibition Act and domestic violence statutes. The police arrived at their house on a busy Saturday morning when all the neighbors were outside. The sight of officers escorting Mohan and Sunita out for questioning while the entire neighborhood watched was exactly the public humiliation I'd planned. But the most devastating blow was what happened to their business network. Mohan ran a small construction consultancy, and Sunita had a boutique tailoring business. When word spread through their professional circles about the legal charges and the audio recordings, clients began canceling contracts. Who wants to do business with a family known for dowry harassment and financial abuse? The collapse was swift and total. Arjun, now unemployed and facing potential criminal charges, couldn't find work anywhere in the city. The tech industry is smaller than people think, and word travels fast about financial misconduct. Every job interview ended the same way, a polite rejection after background checks revealed the scandal. Mohan's construction business died within 3 months. No one wanted to hire a contractor whose family was in the news for dowry demands. His reputation for financial irregularities made him untouchable in an industry built on trust. Sunita's boutique closed when her wealthy clients, the same women who'd attended our wedding and seen the expensive gifts, quietly took their business elsewhere. No one wanted to be associated with someone who'd built her lifestyle on exploiting her daughter-in-law.
The family that had once lived comfortably in a 3-bedroom apartment had to sell their car, ironically the same car my parents had been forced to buy as dowry, just to pay their legal fees.
But the sweetest revenge wasn't financial, it was social. At community gatherings, other families would point to the Guptas as a cautionary tale. Don't be like them, mothers would tell their sons. See how greed destroyed their reputation. The final blow came when the court case concluded. Not only did I win compensation for emotional and financial damages, but the judge's remarks were scathing and public record. The defendants treated the complainant as a commodity to be purchased and exploited, he said. Their actions represent the worst aspects of dowry culture and financial abuse within marriage. I filed for divorce and walked away with more money than my parents had ever seen in their lives: compensation for emotional damages, return of the dowry payments, and legal fees paid by the defendants. But more important than the money was the message I'd sent. Within months, my story had spread throughout our community and beyond. I became the woman who'd fought back, who'd proven that demanding dowry wasn't just morally wrong, it could destroy your entire life. Other women started reaching out to me. Daughters-in-law who were facing similar treatment, young women whose families were being pressured for dowry payments, mothers who wanted to protect their daughters from families like the Guptas. I moved into my own apartment, continued advancing in my career, and never looked back. Arjun thought demanding dowry would give him power over me. Instead, it gave me the motivation to destroy everything he and his family had built. They learned that some people, when pushed too far, don't just push back, they annihilate. The last I heard, Arjun was working as a delivery driver in another city, still unable to find work in his field. His parents had moved back to their village, their dreams of urban success shattered forever. If this story inspired you, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories about people who refused to be victims. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had to fight back against people who thought they owned you? What was your turning point? Your stories help others find the courage to stand up for themselves, and I read every single comment.